This thing is tough.
What the hell do you think you're doing? I can protect myself, thank you very much.
Victory! The Scarlet Guardians have won! The hero of this fight is, of course, Second Lieutenant Kasane Randall, who took down a major other on her first assignment. Congratulations, Lieutenant Randall. Let's hear what she has to say. How do you feel? You must be tired. Your first victory on your first deployment. Isn't that satisfying?
Shiden gave all the orders. Ask him about it.
What?
So sorry I'm late. That was a good fight. Oh dear. Poor Shiden.
This is Arashi. Sorry, looks like you caught the crow's attention.
Arashi! You're right. They got Shiden.
I didn't expect to make a video on Scarlet Nexus so soon, but the demo was out, and I had a chance to play both paths to get my first impressions of the game. I've been interested in the title since its announcement last year. Character action games are rare occurrences, especially from studios that aren't the usual suspects. Before we go any further, I'll explain what Scarlet Nexus is, based on what I've gleaned from the demo. Scarlet Nexus is a 2021 character action game by Bandai Namco Studios. You play as either Yuito Sumeragi or Kasane Randall, new recruits to the OSF, a task force focused on protecting the public from the threat of the Others, mysterious chimeric monsters that seem to be comprised of human and animal body parts, as well as plant material and random pieces of debris. Each OSF member is gifted with a psychic ability which they use in combat in conjunction with their weapon of choice. Along with their individual skills, each OSF squad leader can call upon their teammates' abilities to help them during field operations. So what does this all mean in terms of gameplay? You have a melee weapon that you can use to perform basic attacks or special attacks. You can also use your psychic abilities during combat to fend off the Others. Both Yuito and Kasane have psychokinesis as their given powers, which amounts to being able to lift almost any object in the field and chuck it at a nearby enemy. Using PK consumes your psychic energy, which can be refilled by chaining together attack combos, so the basic combat loop is to mix up physical and psychic attacks. The game further encourages mixing up attack types by having the player automatically close in on an enemy that's been hit by a PK'd object if you press any attack button while holding down the PK button, or doing extra PK damage if you throw an object immediately after doing a physical attack. PK is mapped to both triggers, but each trigger has a different purpose. The right trigger allows the player to pull off basic PK attacks, while the left trigger is meant for objects that have special attacks associated with them. Left trigger PK moves usually have QTE prompts that require you to move the sticks in a particular way or hold down a button. Left trigger is also used to perform finishing moves on weakened enemies. Your squad mates come into play by attacking nearby enemies with their melee weapons, as well as providing their unique abilities for the player to use via the SAS network, or SAS. You can call on a squad mate to do their ability by holding down right bumper and pressing a designated base button. Abilities range from elemental buffs to passive abilities that provide a tactical advantage against certain enemies. When a certain meter fills up, the player will go into a hyper mode of sorts that increases their PK damage and recharge rate. I'm not sure if it's the game's double trigger equivalent, so I'll hold off on calling it that until I play the full game. What I found interesting about Scarlet Nexus is that choosing between Yuito and Kasane didn't result in the same campaign. Yuito has his own squad and his own mission in a specific location, and Kasane has hers. Their squad mates aren't complete one-to-one replacements, with the possible exception of the ones with elemental-based powers. Yuito's squad seems to be focused on providing good defensive options, with one guy giving an armor buff that temporarily negates damage, and another guy allowing Yuito to briefly blink across the battlefield. Kasane's squad seems to be more aggressive, with a girl granting speed buffs that translate into bullet time, and another person creating a duplicate of Kasane that doubles her damage output. Even how Yuito and Kasane handle feel distinct from each other. Yuito has longer range with his sword, while Kasane can chain more attacks together with their knives. I think Kasane has a brief air dodge that Yuito doesn't have, but I've noticed that I'm better at dodging with him on the ground compared to Kasane. If I had to compare Scarlet Nexus to a contemporary, it'd be Astral Chain from Platinum Games. Both games feature task forces with special powers fighting otherworldly threats. Both games have a start-stop rhythm to their combat that punctuate the ends of their combos with big flourishes, and both games have abilities that recharge on cooldown to mix up the shallow combo pools. Also, both games feel like you're playing shonen anime in a cyberpunk future, with their cel-shaded art direction and cast of characters. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably choose Scarlet Nexus over Astral Chain, even if I'm just going off the demo. Astral Chain's combat felt a bit too padded out for each fight, with enemies taking more damage than I felt they should. I didn't have that issue with Scarlet Nexus's enemies, but it's still only a demo, so we'll see if later enemies get too chufty. I like the team dynamic more in Scarlet Nexus. I won't spoil Astral Chain in this video, but there is a point early in the story where the rest of the team lose their abilities and don't recover them for the rest of the game, so it feels like you're carrying the brunt of the workload. By having it so that the player relies on each squad mate's abilities, they always feel relevant in every fight, and they can even contribute to finishing off enemies if you activate their finishing moves when the prompt flashes on screen. In terms of presentation, Scarlet Nexus handles expository scenes in the same way as the first Bayonetta, with character portraits over shots of the environment moving the plot along. It's a good way to tell a story in an action game without spending too many resources on extraneous cinematics. It feels like a motion comic at times, but the game seems to know when to highlight big action scenes with full animation. So far, I like what I see in Scarlet Nexus. If I had a complaint, it's that I still don't have a grasp on how to effectively dodge with both Yuito and Kasane to avoid enemy damage. I can cheese it with Yuito by calling on the armor ability to temporarily block damage, but I can tell that there's a perfect dodge effect, because the game did a really quick slow motion effect when I dodged certain projectiles. Admittedly, I didn't go into the game's menu and tool around with the character progression, so I can't say if the scale is locked away in there, but it's pretty much what I got from the demo. I'm gonna have to add Scarlet Nexus to the docket when I'm back in full production, and I might even float it to the top of the list.